Hi you guys, so today I'm going to be doing a reading with Big Nose Kate. I had planned to do this sooner, but I have been sidelined by incredible stenosis pain over the last few days, so that's where I've been. I'm finally feeling up to filming, so I'm ready to go today. Feeling finally some relief. So I just want to ask her what she wants to share now that she's on the other side, and anything that we might find interesting or that she thinks is important, just leave the floor to her, so to speak, to express herself. And prior to this, I did do some readings to see if she was willing to communicate. And I got a positive sign, so I'm just going to go ahead and see what she wants to share. Now, she was born November 9th. And she was born in Hungary. And her parents came here, but they died within a month of each other. I don't know how long. I don't think they had been in America terribly, terribly long when this happened. And she and her siblings, I think she had a couple siblings, but I could be wrong about that. Anyway, they ended up being sent to a family member, and then ended up being in the care of an attorney. It was a bumpy start for her. And she died in the November 2nd, 1940. She was born 1849. So she lived a really long life. Because at the age of around 90, I think she persisted to get into the pioneer home for people that had been part of the old West. And she's buried at their pioneer home for the aged in Prescott, their pioneer cemetery in Prescott, Arizona. Sorry. All right. So, let's see what we get. I am using, by the way, the Tattoo Tarot, in case you're curious. Okay. Okay, so let's see what we get. Okay, she's talking about moving on. And I'm going to do this in a Celtic cross style. Now, this could be the moving that she experienced early on from leaving the country of Hungary and coming to America, because this is like travel at a great distance, and trying to come to a place that's supposed to be better. Okay, so that makes me feel like if this is talking about, and I think it probably is, about her parents and what initiated them to come to America. Something about that, maybe. Let's just see what we have around this card. So crossing it, yeah. A constant fight with the Five of Wands. So there's a very combustible energy here, an angry energy crossing. Making this getting to a better place more difficult. Because it's the Five of Wands. It is fighting, arguing, argumentative. It is disrupted. Often it can be like physical assault, abuse, definitely. And so it's hard to say, I'm sure she did experience abuse in the various places that she was at initially. And unfortunately, I think we can look at her life and say that probably was true. Because she worked primarily, so there's this constant, it looks like an energy that's angry or fighting, having to fight or fight off people. You know, I feel like physically fight. And she was getting tired of this. I think in her capacity, she was, what I was trying to say before I was interrupted, was that she was working as a sex worker. And, you know, that kind of life is not one that these women necessarily wanted to do. But back then especially, there weren't a lot of jobs that were going to be going to women, unless it was some kind of a family business where there's an inherited, you know, role. Many women, this was their only ability, you know, to earn an income, was to resort to selling their body. And unfortunately, in most places, you don't have a balanced respect. And they're, you know, sex workers are respected probably the very least. And I wouldn't be surprised if she endured a great deal of abuse physically early on. And so there's this want, I feel like she's indicating that from the start, early on, she was wanting to get out and go someplace different. And probably that's how come she ended up going from where she was, like the likes of St. Louis, Missouri, and whatnot, where she eventually ended up coming all the way out to Arizona, where she, you know, ended up settling, and until she passed away in 1940. So she had to be quick on her feet, is my feeling, like at an early age, because the abuse, I feel like, crossing her was pretty severe. And there's almost this hope that she had that kept her going, kept her motivated. I think she had to be highly motivated to endure that scene. I mean, it was really rough. This is her, because she is a November baby, a November 9th, a Scorpio. She's a water sign. And this is, I feel like, her telling about her life and from her point of view. So this is based on her. How this is good. Okay. Connecting. Thank you. And she's wanting to offer and share some wisdom, especially as I think she aged. There was some insights. There was wanting to share her life. I don't know if she got to do that. I feel like she would have been the type that would have liked to have written a book or been able to self-express in some way, in that way, that manner. I don't know if she ever wrote a book or not, but I'm feeling like she wanted to, at least, with these cards. Wanted to share that information, that insight. Ooh. Don't think you need to see the wastebasket. Have to have it close by because of my disability, but nobody wants to look at the waste bin. Okay, so the recent past. We have the Knave of Swords. So it's a very youthful energy, and curiosity, watchfulness. I think that's her as a child. I feel like she was very quiet, but she observed a lot, and that's how she survived. I feel like that's what she's telling me. And she learned to read people. And she would have been pretty good at it too, because of her water nature. She could feel, she could sense if she wanted to go into the her ability to feel empathy. that's what she was shifting into there. So I think this was something that kept her alive and through the rough times that she went through, because it was very abusive. Yeah. The Ace of Cups. So she learned to, like, please. That makes sense to me. And this is observing and seeing that what made her click with people, or I feel like, was that she could be she was highly emotional. I definitely get that. Not only with this card, but clearly with the Ace of Cups. And I feel like she could definitely, this goes into drink, this goes into the behaviors that she became, that I just was like refreshing, like what I knew about her. I think it's going into the behavior when drinking, being very expressive, over the top, can't contain it. I think she couldn't contain her temper, I think, when she drank. And that's showing up here. And it's connected to her childhood. So I do think that there was drink on board relatively early on in her life. So, I think there was hanging around, I see in my mind's eye, she's hanging around places where men were drinking to make money. That makes sense. They were in the mood, I got from her, they were in the mood to spend money, and you got them when they were in that mood. And when they were a bit merry, or they'd had a bit, I feel like, too much to drink, I'm feeling like she's saying this is a good strategy if you're trying to survive out there, that this is where you go. But I see that part of the struggle was her own self, that she struggled against was her own anger, and how it could unravel her ability to get to a better place. You know, it's like she would have the opportunity, but I feel like she would blow it with some excessive behavior that was argumentative, angry, explosive, top it off with any kind of drink or hormonal changes even. I feel like with this card, I feel like she had a lot on board to deal with. And I don't feel that most people had any idea, and still don't, in a way to appreciate who she was, what she had to overcome, and survive. And that she did have ambition. Yes, she did. And you can't blame her for that. Kind of came across some articles that I thought were pretty harsh toward her. And I didn't think, and don't think, that it's entirely fair. They say that she ended up, as far as Doc Holliday went, out of anger, betraying him in some way, and that ended up leading. And I think that's very possible with this, because the only reason I'm bringing it up is because I'm seeing this. Eight of Cups, this is moving on. This can be neglect. And I do feel like this is her constant moving, or trying to shift or move. And I think she had a tendency to not look back. I think that she had that in common with these men. And that's probably, not only her profession, but personality is why she was basically his common law, Doc Holliday's common law wife, from what I understand. Correct me if I'm wrong, feel free. For those of you that are really learned in this, have at it. But I'm feeling here with that Eight of Cups, this is dealing with, you are always trying to seek for the grass is greener, especially now when I see it with the Six of Swords and the Eight of Cups in her life. That was her attitude. She was always trying to find a better place. And even before she died, there was some kind of, I think, a little bit of shade thrown at her by this person's article for her. They said she would make up stories just so that she could get in. Well, hell yeah, she was like 90. She was already, and if she wasn't already that old, she was up there already. And you can't blame someone for realizing that you're old and you're facing, you need to be in an old folks home. She knew that she needed that care, and she got it. I can't blame her for that. And she ended up being able to be buried. She took advantage of what was out there for people, and she was a name of the Big West, whether you could approve of everything she did or not. And I'm not saying that I do. I have no interest or investment in any fashion, but just to present what I'm being shown and what I've come to understand and what I am intuitively feeling. This is the issue of betrayal. So that does come up in her environment, and she is acknowledging this. And there's a lot of emotion about it. And she just felt like she was, I think, abandoned by him. I think she had issues of abandonment. Maybe he left her while she was his common law wife. I think that, people that want to be mad at her for what she did to Doc Holliday need to look at his behavior too. I'm not saying any of what they do to each other made any justification. It was a sick relationship, codependent, for sure. But there is betrayal, and there is trying to move on, always trying to find that better place with her. And that's what she's letting us know, that she was just, it was deeply ingrained within her. And I think because when she was so little, the act that her parents and her were all trying to do was to come to a better place. And this doesn't seem to have ever left her. This feeling that she needed to roam, to move, and see if the fear of missing out, it feels like she had. Like she needed to keep the earth moving under her feet. I think even when she settled, I think she still had this restlessness. And I think it's what caused her to drink and be a bit unhappy, is because she didn't feel fully satisfied that she had found what she was looking for. The Three of Cups. That's very interesting. So we're getting 2 threes now. That's a pattern. All right. This is the hopes and fears. And this was her hopes. I think she wanted to be accepted. And I think for that time that she was kind of running with him, she had maybe a bit more of a social life than when she was just having to work as a sex worker. And I think that this was something she enjoyed. A bit more of the social aspect and connecting with other people that were kind of similar on the outside of the law, if you will, not accepted by general society. And she's letting me know she never felt accepted, never, ever, ever, even as a child, especially as a child. And that's what led her also, because people are so judgmental. I'm getting that. And the Ten of Swords, this is being like she's showing me at the end of it, I think she had a tremendous amount of guilt. I do. That feels very heavy, that Ten of Swords. It was a hard life as well. And she's acknowledging it as such, that, when she finally passed, it was those years in the pioneer home, I don't think were necessarily great. I don't know, but they may have been better than the life that she had had while having to prostitute herself with very rough, violent men. What else does she want to talk about? The Knight of Swords and the Eight of Wands, moving quickly on the run. I think this is probably Doc Holliday, or just the energy of I think, their life. There's always this watchfulness. She's letting me know that she always felt guilty, no matter what. Even before, she was guilty for having that someone had to take care of her, and so she couldn't wait to get away. Is what she was telling me. But there was also then, what do I do? I'm being, the only kind of work that's available to me is very abusive work. So she always feels like she's got an eye in the back of her head. No, but she's saying nobody trusted anybody. You couldn't if you lived that kind of life, is what she's saying to me. You can't live that kind of life and live very long if you let your guard down. So she's kind of saying to me, we loved each other as much as we could love each other, but inevitably, if you're living that life, literally, that doesn't usually end well for anybody. Okay, let's see what else she wants to share. King of Cups and the Ten of Wands. There was a man whose drink, I think she just said, belied her own. And that probably is Doc, because that's certainly the aspect of his, part of the problem was alcoholism and tuberculosis. The alcoholism would leave you so wide open to catching it knocks down your immune system, for one thing. So in those days, you can just, that was just a bad combo. And I'm really feeling that heavy kind of a tuberculosis feeling, actually. The heaviness of that Ten of Wands. I think it was just he was too much for her. And that I feel like he was also closed off, drunk in his own emotions, just kind of like disconnected. So I think she felt like he pulled away from her in some way. I mean, we're talking about people that's of course possible, because you got to think lives that they lived early on and what was in their environment. This was a very different world, a lot rougher and a lot harder than our own. And I think much more violent, if you can believe that. King of Wands. Now, I'm getting the sense, this could be Wyatt Earp, I don't know, but I'm getting the sense that he didn't like her. And I'm telling you that because he's the one that came up, from what I read, from the name for her. And to me, it's not a very nice moniker. But I think it's stuck. And I think that she didn't probably like it very much. I don't feel like intuitively, but she wasn't gonna go on about it. She felt like it was a pointless argument. It's like he's doing that because he's wanting to bait you in. So she was definitely a reader of people. And I would think in that kind of work, you would want to be. the Four of Wands, this is the public, and the Emperor, the husband, the authorities. Yeah. I feel like this is the public and the authorities. And I feel like she wanted to win over the public. I think she was trying to win over the public. Like, see, I'm just like you. But she wasn't quite. You know, she was pretty damaged. And she's acknowledging that early on here. And here. That when she passed, it was like losing a heavy weight. That's what I felt from her. She like, that life was heavy, very heavy to live. And she really had to struggle to survive. And you had to be street smart. If you weren't, you didn't survive long. And she lived to be the age that she did. This could also be, she was married a few times. One of the husbands committed suicide, and Mr. Cummings in 1915. So I wonder if she's referring to a husband there. Something with the public. All right, let's see what we get. I'm gonna move some of these other cards now. Okay, and we'll carry on. We'll just let her use the deck and see what we get. Okay, so she's bringing up, I feel like, one of her husbands. She had a couple of husbands. And they died before her. One of them in 1915, then one of them when she got to be older. She was a lot older. They had been together a while, it seemed like. But I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm right. I'm getting the Lovers, okay. And I'm getting the Wheel of Fortune, being left, or some change happening. But I feel like it's being left for somebody else, or leaving him for someone else. Ooh, I think it's leaving him for someone else. But let's see. Somebody's leaving somebody, and it looks like we have a husband, there's a lover, and somebody leaves. I feel like they go off. They have a, different diversion in their life. This is manipulation and communication, taking control. And the Three of Coins and work. She may have left someone that was, I don't know, I feel like may have been making her work, her trade, actually. Three of Coins, seeing more than one person. There's some manipulation going on with this quote-unquote husband, this King of Wands. I think he had a problem with money and was using her to work her trade. Quite possibly. 10 of Cups. Pretty passionate connection there. And the Sun. I think I feel like she left a husband. That may have been, I don't know, having her work. Somehow it feels manipulative. And there is, getting clear on that and deciding that's enough. Definitely some kind of change within that relationship. He also may have been disreputable business-wise, an older man, possibly one of that had been her husband. I'm not sure, but there was some finagling going on with other people and money and business, and feels very business-like here. And then this feels like a passionate affair. And some kind of change. Needing balance. Something needed balance. Yes, we get another card of Justice. This can be, the law catching up. literally, the law catching up, bringing things put to right, karma that needs to be balanced. This life was very heavy for her, definitely. Heavy karma that she balanced. Enduring it. Oh yeah. Ace of Swords and the Five of Cups. She endured so much loss. There's just like the death of her parents really did affect her, of course. That's the card of grieving and mourning and being clear about that. So I think she's wanting to say she has clarity now about the loss in her life and about the continuing theme of loss that went on in her life. But she also worked out some kind of karma that she had with, I think, those people that she was connected with. Okay, this is really interesting. The World. I get that she's pleased that she's remembered. Yeah, Queen of Wands. She had a bit of an entertainer inside of her. She had a bit of a love for, who would blame her? Like a bit of love of glamour, or she had a side to her nature that could be a bit of a performer, I feel like. That could be very, very social. And I feel like she's become an actress. I just want to say it. It just came to me, and I was going to stop myself, but I'm not going to. I feel like in another life she came in as an actress sometime. Very successful. Let's see if I can get like a time on that. Ace of Coins and the Star. I feel like an early Hollywood. I do. So I got a hit of, this just made me feel like 1930s Hollywood. A blonde. And maybe a fire sign. But like Sagittarius, Leo. Yeah, you can hear Bear. If you did that, I bet everybody else's cat watching this is going to come running to their food. You're going to hear that tin can open. Four of Coins and the Five of Swords. This is just like, God, it was hard for her just to find security in life. It seemed futile. And there was just like, you endured so much abuse just to try to keep a roof over your head. That's what I keep getting from her. You know, it was not easy. She really wants people to understand that life was very heavy, and it was really hard for her to endure it. There was a lot of abuse, and she took it pretty darn well, considering. I'm surprised that she survived as long as she did. But I think she was that tenacious to live. And she wants people to know the truth. She doesn't feel like she has, at this now, she's saying she doesn't feel like she has anything to be ashamed of. It was the life that she was meant to go in and live, and the karma she was meant to deal with, and she did it, and it was very, very difficult. Was she always a likable person in that life? No. And especially not people that are living that kind of lifestyle. They are not, she's like, you don't trust anybody. There's all these issues. And so that was very, very heavy. And the next life that I see that she went into, it looks like it was a little bit more fun for her. But there was that darkness. There was a dark side. A hidden one. As this actress that I see her being. I don't know who it was. I really don't. I'm not getting, that's being also, I think, hidden from me. there's something about the way that one earned money. Well, a lot of the women in Hollywood early on, many of them had been involved in that at some point, or the casting couch, this kind of thing. There's like, I think she was a victim of that. Yeah. That here, you do this is quid pro quo, right? That we're being shown, and that she was embarrassed by that. And the goal was to become more powerful than them. But we had, and this does not usually happen, but we had a reverse card come about, and that was the Two of Wands. And that means that she didn't feel like she had a choice. This was, if you wanted to expand your career, you did this. So she just kind of, I think, did it and tried not to think about it, but she didn't like it, and it didn't feel right to her. Empress, yes. Very successful, but had a great fall, whoever she was, with the Tower. I'll have to look back. I think I might get a sense of who she may have been. If I look over some of the early Hollywood stars, female stars, possibly fire signs, but entertainers nonetheless, regardless of sign, that may have had a very powerful rise and then a sudden fall of some kind. Something happened suddenly. Knight of Wands, there's activity. And I think it could have been some kind of a transportational accident. There's movement with the Knight of Wands, and it makes me feel like you're in some mode of transportation. I just got that. And and I feel like there's something that goes wrong, and you get judgment. So then you get the life review, this is expanded awareness. Something happens suddenly. And I do. I feel like it's... I don't know. She was in entertainment, though. And I felt like early Hollywood. Yeah, look at that. There's like people that want to make money off of you. And there's the push and the drive. You get caught up in unhealthy lifestyles and, I think, abuse to get that fame, to get that success. Maybe they got exposed for that. I'm not sure. Knight of Cups and Death. She's showing me more than one lifetime here. That's very interesting. So she's saying, I haven't just been her. I've lived other lifetimes. And I think that there's drink around the death. I think that there's drink around her death. So she could have been another film star. I think she's been film stars a couple of times. In the early 30s, it's something that happened, and then I think maybe, I want to say, but no, she died 1940, so it would had to have been around the 40s. Well, that's only 10 years off, historical time. That's good to know. So that does make some sense. Maybe there was, I think that she really was enchanted by the film stars, and I think that she would have liked to have been one. When she was Big Nose Kate, I think she came back and was one. But in the 40s, not the 30s. So I might be off with that. And I feel like she passed before she got to be very comfortable in that, fulfilled with that. And it feels like there was drink in the mix. that could have led to her passing. And some kind of vehicle. It's making me think of, was it Mammy Van Doren? Maybe. Anyhow, she's definitely letting me know, regardless of who, that she had, I feel like, a couple of lifetimes here since she was Big Nose Kate. And in the Hollywood, I feel like entertainment industry. And I feel like she met with actually premature deaths in those lives. So she lived a long time as Big Nose Kate, it looks like, but not in these other lifetimes. It looks like that got interrupted. And I feel like there's like a couple of lives there. I feel just one life there I'm being shown. I feel like maybe a couple of lives. But regardless, at least one where she was a Hollywood star that passed. I feel like in some kind of vehicle, and there's some kind of drink or issue of being daydreamy or falling asleep or something. I'm not sure. I feel like it's connected to the death, the passing that she was saying. Knight of Coins. She was on, I wonder if she was on her way to do some kind of event. Hierophant in the Knight of Coins. This feels like work, and maybe with a mentor involved. Seven of Wands, wanting to, that did not end up working out. The Five of Coins, to where she's lost physical security. Trying to defend herself. Stand up for herself. You know, she may have been also being abused by men taking advantage. Certainly feels like it. And like maybe taking advantage and running her ragged in other lives. Yeah. So she's had to stop. I don't think she's incarnated since this last life, honestly, to look at her relationship issues with men. She's having to really look at that from a different perspective. There's some kind of delay. I feel like she's getting herself around the same type of men again that would not respect her. That's kind of a similar, foolish, disregard, very risky behavior, and that it can result in you passing too young. Literally. Wow. That makes sense too when I think back of the card of temperance and justice. It's like the main lessons that she was to learn was, and that we're all really learning in some way or another, on usually more than one way or another, is balance, not to be extreme one way or the other. And nobody's perfect. So it's trying to get your way to that middle path where you're more steady. And it shows that she was trying to do that, but this is how she ended up. Wow, okay. Well, that's very interesting. I'm going to leave it there. I'll pull a couple more cards. Yeah, this shows her retracting back. And I think also going along with the Hangman of pulling back and looking at this from a different perspective. Yeah, I think Nine of Cups, so that she feels more content. And she is doing introspective work. And become more objective and not just based on pleasure, but also to make things work in a healthy manner. But you have to reflect And I see that a lot when I'm reading people that are on the other side. So it's like, she's like, yeah, I've been on the other side, come back and come back to the other side again. And right now I'm on pause to look at relationships and my issues with people, men in particularly. Yeah, this is kind of like a dreamy, perhaps not very grounded choice. It just feels like going through people and being unhappy and disconnected as a result, being used. Let's face it. And especially around people that are drinking and using, I feel like, substance that are loopy. That she wasn't supposed to be doing that. She's trying, that was definitely a no, because this has kept happening. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Knight of Swords and the Ace of Cups. Trying to temper this extreme with emotions also, anger, any kind of extreme emotion, and look at it. So she's still holding back and reviewing. It's very interesting. So I want to thank her, and I want to thank you. And if you enjoy this kind of content, please give it a thumbs up, like and share, subscribe, make sure the notifications are on. All right. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next live or video. Bye.